Hello YouTube, Dr. Sola coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. Hopefully I get it right this time because each time I start doing this recording, I get interrupted. So no one is going to call, I hope. I've turned the AC off so the noise doesn't come into the video. So today I'm going to do a video about the DEYE 5 kilowatt inverter, and you're going to ask me, but Dr. Sola, you had said you no longer do any more DEYE videos because DEYE does not recognize you or promote you. And the answer is yes, but at the end of the day, I still get a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and a lot of messages about DEYE inverters. And in a heartbeat, in a pinch, when I don't have a choice, I install the DEYE inverters. I found a way to, I found a way till I confirm inventory of getting the Solar X inverters into Nigeria faster. But right now, we're going to talk about DEYE. So before I tell you the problem that you might experience with the 5 kilowatt inverter that would shut you off and you cannot restart the inverter, please subscribe to my channel. Last 28 days, we got over 100 subscribers, which was double what our normal is. So I want to thank all of you that have been responding and have been subscribing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are less than 80 some odd, more people to go, more subscribers to go to get to 3,000. I don't know why I've made this 3,000 a mental thing for me, but once I get to 3,000, I'm sure I will not ask you to subscribe again. And then I guess the next mental thing will be 5,000 and then 10,000, but 3,000 is this magic number, and with your help, I'll get there. So thank you once again. So this morning, I got a message from Dr. Sammy Yang, and he goes, Chris, how are you? I go, I'm good. How are things? I'm good. Sam Yang always comes to me when he has issues with his DEYE inverters. So Sam goes, Chris, I have a DEYE inverter that hit out BCO, low battery cutoff. And then this morning the sun is out and the inverter is not charging. The MPPT will come on and then go off. MPPT will come on and go off, but the batteries are not charging. So that took me back to 2 weeks ago, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, where we had the same experience. We'd done the new installation with a DEYE 5 kilowatt inverter. We ran into a problem that was not related to DEYE. It was actually our fault initially, but we put it on, corrected that initial problem. Then we installed, we put the inverter on, customer ran it, he was happy, batteries charged. The next morning, it ran, batteries charged, and then that night, he discharged it, and then the batteries fell below the low battery cutoff because we had not gone through a full charge cycle for the battery, multiple charge cycles for the battery to equalize. So when you install a brand new lithium battery, you need to go to a couple of charge cycles for the cells within the battery to equalize. So you might see 100%, but you're not really seeing 100%. Once you go through a couple of charge cycles, then 100% really is 100%. So what happens in those instances when the system goes off is you might go off at 20% and then you start to discharge. And if it's discharged below 20%, you see 17%, 16%. And you see an accelerated discharge, and that usually panics people because they think the battery is bad. When I first experienced it, I got scared. I'm like, holy, we bought bad batteries. But no, we didn't buy bad batteries. The batteries, there are multiple batteries in there. They have equalization, they have to equalize before the battery gets full capacity. So that happened to this client. So that night the batteries ran out. The next morning the sun comes up and the inverter will not power up. And I kept watching and the battery will slowly discharge. Now I was going crazy. I'm like, what is going on here? Why isn't the customer powering up? So we run a couple of tests. I told him to turn the PV off, turn PV back on again, and the PV will pick up and then go off. PV will pick up, go off. And then it just remained at 72 watts all through. So I told the customer to shut the system down. I sent someone to reduce the string size. We figured that maybe because we're pulling way too much from the string, so let me give you an idea. We had 10 640 watt solar wall panels, and solar wall has lower voltage but higher current compared to say the Jinko or the ERAs. And we thought that because we had made the mistake of connecting all 10 panels on one string, which exceeded the MPPT capacity, which is 3,250, we had 6,400 on that string. We thought that's what the problem was. So I sent someone to reduce the string size. So now we are 640 times 5 times 420, 5 times 630. So 3,200 or 3,300, which was quite fine. Turn it back on, nothing. Tell the customer, keep it off, we'll send someone the following week. Now the customer is getting all bent upset. I made all these investments. I'm not using my system. He's going, can we bypass the MPPT and use my current controllers to run it? I said, yes, you can, but the problem is the US5000C would not wake up if it doesn't have BMS communication. So your charge controller will not do the job. So I was like, okay, so what do we do? I said, just wait for my guys to come. So I tell my guys, when you get there, check to make sure that the polarity on the panels are correct. We didn't have one negative going to where positive should go, or vice versa, because we've seen these errors before on installations we've gone to do. They checked, it was fine. Turned it on, same thing. It will kick in, then go off. So I said, okay, the customer has other strings. Pull the string, test, and then report back. So they pulled the string, they tested, it didn't come on, then they went and so the customer had 2 parallel strings, they put it in series to get voltage, still didn't work. After putzing around for quite a while, it occurs to them to call me and tell me, sir, it didn't work. I said, okay, you know what we're going to do? Connect what I told you to connect and wait. So I sent a message today with the logger number, telling them, look, this is a problem I'm having. We've done everything, we can't get the inverter to power up. The MPPT will come on and go off. She goes, okay, let me check. She checks. Guess what she says? The low battery cutoff is lower than the SOC. So low battery cutoff is lower than the state of charge battery. I'm like, okay, so what? Once the solar panels kick in, they should pick up, right? Nope, it would not pick up. So she goes, let me play with it a little bit. So she reduces all the values to 5%. So your low battery cutoff to 5%, your restart to 5%, I can't remember what the other thing she did, to 5%. And then she does a firmware update. And once she did the firmware update, the inverter woke up. So I'm like, wow, so that's it, right? Now the customer is afraid to let it go back down because he thinks that the same thing will happen again. So when Dr. Sam called me this morning, I said to him, he gives me the logger number, I send a message to Deye, and Deye tells me the same thing. LBCO lower than SOC. So what did they do? They did a new firmware update. The inverter woke up and is working fine. So if you have this experience where your Deye 5 kilowatt inverter, you hit the low battery cutoff and the next morning the sun comes up and the inverter will not charge, or the MPPT will not pick up to charge your batteries, don't think anything is wrong. There is nothing wrong. The inverter is fine. Your MPPT is fine. There might be, I think there's a software bug, a software problem that is causing the problem that you just experienced. And the only way you get it fixed is by calling the person who sold it to you and have them send your logger information, make sure it's online, your logger information to Deye. Deye will log in, change the values, put new firmware, and your inverter will wake up again. So don't do what I did, go through all this stress of removing strings, adding strings, doing connections that were absolutely not necessary. The problem is Deye and the firmware. And once they do the firmware update, your inverter will wake up. Dr. Sam had his at 20%. We had his LBC at 20%. And his state of charge was 19. We had ours at, I think, 10. And the state of charge was 9%. So we increased it to 15. So if you have this experience, just recognize you didn't do anything wrong. It's a firmware bug and Deye will correct it. One last thing, and this is me on my soapbox. If you recall the video I did, not one related to cats. Obviously you don't like cats because the most I get view-wise on the cat video is about 50 views compared to 300 to 400 views I get when I do these videos. Someone had purchased the SolarX inverter from me. He said he had a battery and the battery would work with the SolarX. He was told by the manufacturer to get the SolarX. So I sold it to him. he gets to where the batteries were and realizes the batteries were 48 volt batteries instead of 100 to 400 volt batteries. He sends them back. I still haven't looked at it. I'll assume they're fine. And then a few days later, he buys the DEYE inverter from me. He puts it on. There's BMS communication because the BMS information on the inverter matches the BMS information that's supplied by the manufacturer of the battery. Believe it or not, this battery had a 250 amp charge and discharge. I think it was 15 kilowatt hour battery. That was mind blowing. Our DEYE can only do 120 amps, so we're fine. He was using 25 cables, which defied logic. He didn't change any of the settings on the DEYE, so the charge voltage was pretty high. This kind of stuff. So I'm telling him, look, put the inverter online. Well, he's having an error where the inverter is charged, the batteries are charging, but the inverter keeps showing low voltage error, F56. And the battery percentage was 80%. Yet it was still showing low voltage error. And then when he looks into the communications on the battery, it's showing a BMS communication error. So I tell him, look, buddy, connect the dongle to the internet so we can see what's going on. Let me check your settings. And then he starts coming with all these stories, all these excuses. He went to buy new cables, his phone, the phone is not the right type of phone. He's going to wait for his brother to show up. I'm like, bro, dude, take care of it. Now he sends a message at 8:50 at night, then calls me at 9 p.m. to tell me that the customer is very upset, that we sold him an inverter is not working, the customer wants to talk to me. I'm like, I have no reason to speak to your customer. I don't know him from Jack. Please don't call me. I have no reason to talk to your customer. At 10 to 10, he calls me again. Fortunately, at that time, my phone is on Do Not Disturb. So I sent him a message, I said, bros, don't call me until you put this online. This guy goes in the law of the jungle, some bullshit. I said, obviously, look, you don't know what you're doing. So do what we just told you to do and help you. Or I'm a certified engineer for 10 years. And that's something that pisses me off in Nigeria. When you catch people, something they don't understand, telling you what their qualifications are. I'm happy for your qualifications. It doesn't mean that you're qualified to do this particular task. So he's telling me law of jungle, that my business, that I sold him a product doesn't work. It's my responsibility to make the product work. At this point, I'm ready to tell him to go pound salt. So up until now, it's been 3 days later or 2 days later, he has not gotten back to me to tell me that he's connected it so I can look to see the settings. And after looking at the settings, to communicate with DEYE to look and see if there was anything wrong. Guys, seriously, if you don't know what you're doing, admit to not knowing. Nobody's going to hold you for ransom. Nobody's going to call you stupid. What we do is very complex and there's so many moving parts. And we'll be very happy to help you out if you don't know what you're doing, but don't try to be smarter than you really are. Well, once again, this is Dr. Solar coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. If you're here to subscribe, please click the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Dr. Solar, out.